look at the statistics, 2024 vis-a-vis 2025, we can see a 6% increase.
From speaking about these ideas and championing these ideas of economic prosperity.
Yes. And yet, when you look at social media, the young people are always complaining government is not doing enough
in innovation so that they are productive, and then there we can switch to the policy level and then to the political level, and then to...
We need to empower ourselves. Yeah, we need to learn.
There is an opportunity there. And start.
It's really been nice to hear that insight. Hello, have you ever imagined why so many young people in Uganda and Africa as a whole struggle to make money, and the majority of them are actually unemployed? Well, that is a question that we are going to answer in this episode of our discussion at African Justice Media. Welcome to this episode of Afro Liberty Talks under African Justice Media, and my name is George Justice Kanyehamba, and I'm going to be your host. With me today to help us unpack this topic, which is why are so many young people in Uganda struggling to make money, are two CEOs of libertarian think tanks. One is Lutakome Imran Kigongo, the director of IFCO African Organization, a libertarian think tank based in Entebbe. Imran, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here.
Welcome. Thank you. The second one is Denis Bua Oscar, the CEO of another young people focused libertarian think tank based here in Kampala. Denis Bua Oscar, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, George. Happy to be here.
All right, so let's get into it. We see that young people in Uganda and Africa as a whole, if you look at the statistics, and according to the work you are doing with the libertarian think tanks, what do you think would be the solution to this unemployment in relation to the libertarian solution? Imran, I'll start with you as a lawyer.
Yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful question. My approach is multi-dimensional to give a clear picture of what is happening in Uganda. Of course, there is the individual level, there is the political level, and then there is on a national level and also the global scale. What is more important today, because there is evidence in Uganda that Uganda's economy is growing. Because if you look at the statistics, 2024 vis-a-vis 2025, we can see a 6% increase in the economic development of Uganda. Even the GDP itself, there is an increase. So what are the youth doing? It's a fundamental question. What is the productivity of the youth? And what is the political sphere doing? What is the justice system doing? Because if we can, for example, the political sphere, if the environment is enabling innovation, even innovations like Glovo, which came yesterday, Uber, which came yesterday, and other innovative solutions to day-to-day problems. So it comes back, you as a youth outside there, how are you preparing yourself to participate in the economic development of the country? That's what we are going to explore for now. That's what I can do. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for that, Imran. So for you, in your own understanding, first of all, as a lawyer and also as a libertarian, as a leader of a libertarian think tank, because I've seen your work that you're trying to do in the community with the young people, with the border groups. What do you think could be that libertarian solution that can actually address? Because libertarians most times they advocate for free markets. Do you believe it should be actually government intervention, or it should be solely the lord of markets, or the free markets?
Uganda is basically a mixed economy. To be clear, it's a mixed economy. It's where you can wake up, start something, and earn a living. So, if you look at the framework, we can have on a policy level. Yes, we can argue that the taxes, the corruption, the what. However, I bring it back to the productivity of the youths. To the productivity of the youths. If youths outside there come along, come on board so that we can participate.
So are you saying that the young people are not productive enough for us to solve the question of why they are struggling to make money?
Yes.
And yet, when you look at social media, the young people are always complaining government is not doing enough.
Yes, that's a fraction. Because I am a social entrepreneur. I am on ground. The youth, a typical youth can wake up at 10. A typical youth can go to the uncle for lunch. A typical youth can waste time in bars, can waste time doing absolutely nothing. So that is the starting point. If the youth come on board to participate in productive, innovative solutions to societal problems, because where there are problems, there is money. We have evidence. COVID-19, there are people who developed solutions. Zoom, it boomed because it was a solution to a problem. So I am calling upon youths, first of all, the youths to come on board to participate in innovation so that they are productive, and then there we can switch to the policy level, and then to the political level, and then to the justice level.
Right, moving on to Denis Bua Oscar. In your experience as a leader of one of the leading think tanks of the young people in Uganda, do you see a direct link between economic freedom or the lack of economic freedom in Uganda and then the reason as to why the young people out there are failing to make money? They are so unemployed, yet they are educated, they can innovate, they have the degrees and everything, but when you look at the status and the statistics, you find they are really struggling financially. Yeah.
Thank you, George. So, at Mtindo, basically, the ideas concerning free market, individual liberty, and limited governance are ideas that are so much aligned to as an organization. So, and basically, these are the ideas that create prosperity. Because if we shy away from speaking about these ideas and championing these ideas of economic prosperity, then we don't know what we are talking about. So I think that the very first thing that is hindering us for economic prosperity is the environment that we operate in. The environment operating is a very tricky environment. I'll give you an example. A lot of young people are very creative, starting up businesses, starting up organizations.
Yes.
But these organizations do not last more than a year, 2 years, or 3 years. Yet, why? Because of the systems in place. I, for one, very first time I was registered in Mtindo, it took me about a month to register it. But also the guidance that I got made me register Mtindo wrongly as a shares instead of guarantee company. The second challenge I faced was the consistency or the sustainability of the organization. Without getting any penny from funding or people who supported me, it gave me hard time to pay for whatever small taxes I had to pay for to make sure this organization is legally organized.
Let me get you clearly.
Yes.
So, are you meaning that it is actually, because you said you registered in Mtindo Network in 1 month, right?
Yes.
So, are you saying that Uganda is actually having an ease to do business environment, or you are saying that the environment actually needs to be improved when it comes to economic freedom?
So this is this is what I'm driving at. It's a two-way. There are places where it's easy to do business.
For example,
I could still speak about the registration personally. I would speak about my experience. It did give me hard time to register my organization. But the cost of now running that organization is the real issue. It doesn't make sense for you to register and then fail to run. I'd rather not register.
So now the cost, is it on, do we blame it on the side of government, the economy, or on the side of us who are registering, who are running this? Everyone. This show is brought to you by African Justice Media, the media for the African dream and justice in Africa. Not forgetting the partnership of African Students for Liberty, a global network of leaders advancing liberty in all aspects of society. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Again, so we can do whatever we can do, but the price is determined by authorities and government. So it becomes challenging for some of us to meet those costs. It becomes challenging for some of us to pay annual taxes. Okay. It becomes challenging for some of us to get these annual dues that we need to do in order to remain legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to pick the view of both of you.
Yes.
Most young people argue that actually the role of government in a free society or in the economy, it is very important.
Yes.
But then the libertarians and the think tanks you are running actually believe in the free markets, that the government should get out of the way and leave the individuals to create, to innovate out of the free will and everything, to make sure that they create prosperity for themselves. So what is your take on that? Do you believe government should come at a certain point, or it should totally leave a free market to exist so that prosperity can be created, just as libertarians argue? I can start with you, Imran, as a lawyer.
Yeah, to quote you very well, totally leave, because its role is regulatory. What we need to dive into, it has to be limited regulations, not over regulations, because anywhere on the planet, so long as there is a government, there must be regulations. For us, the approach is to make sure that the regulations are minimized. So the problems Uganda had 25 years ago, as far as ease of doing business is concerned, so we have seen government trying to bend, because we as think tanks, we have tried as much as possible to push for better policies so that they can ease business. Right now you can register a business in one day. Right now in Uganda, you are seeking justice. Right now you can do everything online. So which means we've done something. We are as think tanks that are pushing for that over-regulation that was there, and then we've seen today government saying if you register a business, 3 years of no taxes. That means they are hearing our cry. That means those are results of pro-liberty organizations, and that's a win for the liberty think tanks in Uganda, to be specific.
Okay. Switch on to Oscar, the same question.
Yes. Thank you, Joe. So my view on that is that, you see, the 78% of young people, the population in Uganda is a huge percentage. Yes, very huge percentage, and ideally we need to be one of the most productive countries, if I'm to say. But there are just a few things that we need to put right, starting with us as young people, but also the people who manage us or who protect us. The ideal role of the government, like my brother Imran said, is to regulate, but limitedly. So government should protect the people and their property. Again, that's the other thing.
Where do we draw a line of now this is too much or this is limited when it comes to regulation? So where should the regulation stop? How do we know now this is too much?
I can approach that in this example. For instance, we had a project 2020 through 2024 that was Yamba wa Boda Boda Kole. Our voice was one. We are participating in the transport business, cars, border borders. How comes that to get a licensing fee, to get a license for a bus to drive on the road, a bus that can make almost 2 million in profits a day, pays the same amount with the border border that makes 20,000 shillings a day. So there was a lot that needed to be addressed. And we launched a campaign, Yamba Boda Boda Kole. We told the policymakers, we showed, we drew what we call policy alternatives. And lucky enough, the beginning of this year, we saw the government saying that, oh, the border borders, okay, the licenses are reduced. You see? So it is about seeing where there is a fix. And then our role is to show, because for us, we as Liberty think tanks, we are like agents. We see a problem, and then we see government and what government is doing. So we get these voices, we prepare these voices, and then we present to the government in form of proposal. And when they say yes, that's why you see licenses of border riders reduced up to almost 75%.
Yes. So, like you are mentioning about the limited role of government in the free market. So, what kind of vision are you seeing? Oh, we are being too idealistic. In case the government gets out of the way, what sort of opportunities are actually going to be created for the young person who is watching there? Are we having any countries where these things have worked, where the free market has actually worked? Can you give us some examples so that the young people can know that we are not just talking about hypothesis of something that cannot happen? Because you mentioned of a limited role of government and having little regulation.
We can see New Zealand. New Zealand has a practical policy where the regulations are really low. Singapore, Shanghai, we see these economies growing at a faster rate just because government has eased, it has deregulated. It has created an environment where it takes hours to access justice, it takes hours to register a business, it takes hours to enforce contracts. So this is the kind of environment that we need to do. So to come back here in Uganda, what we need to rectify is actually the justice system. Because we in the free market economy, we need what we call enforcement of contracts. I want to deal with you whereby in case my contract is not honored, there is a body where I expect justice.
But we have the courts. Are they not?
So there is a question.
Yes.
There is a question in the justice system of Uganda, whereby there is a political invisible hand infiltrating in the justice system. You cannot. We as a Liberty think tanks, we think this judicial system has to be as independent as possible, whereby we the people can trust the system. But as far as I'm aware, as far as what is happening in the country, we see there is much that needs to be done so that at least we realize 100% trust that our contracts are going to be enforced in case of.
All right. He has mentioned of many challenges. Imran has mentioned of many challenges that we have. Dennis, how do you think we can actually build a culture of entrepreneurship? Because according to what you're saying, it literally shows us that most of the economies are growing on entrepreneurship. You mentioned of Singapore, you mentioned of New Zealand. So how do you think, as Ugandans, as Ugandan young people, we can build a culture of entrepreneurship amidst the barriers that we currently have?
Thank you, John. So, I mean, building anything should start from the grassroots level. Today morning I was watching some wonderful economic show called Million Bazillion. So what they do, they move around the streets and ask kids, young people, kids, I mean, random questions about the economy. And so some questions that these kids, they let these kids ask questions about the economy. So it's fascinating what question these kids ask. A young kid of 5th grade or grade 1 or grade 2, they could ask a question like, why does the dollar sign have an S and
the Ugandan has an X?
You get
UGX.
Such questions. So they are brilliant. So I every primary level, you get. How do we groom our children, first of all? You get. So many times, our parents, personally, my parents used to ask me, what do you want to be? Question, and the answer was like, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be what? But I think the question could be, what excites you, right? What sort of problems do you feel you want to solve in this world? Again, so my parents could ask me questions and they want me to give answers that that could make them happy. Yeah. So everything to grow starts from micro level. So just getting back to you, the kind of teaching that we give to our young people is very fundamental. Yeah. Teaching that either structures them, think creatively, to analyze, to come together, to work together, because there's power in working together also. We're recently working on a project and we're trying to push young people to work together again. But someone can literally tell you, I did not want to work with him. Why did you want to work again? But people have their differences and they can't come together to solve community problems. Because one, they have personal differences. Okay, either in their family, either at home or community. Okay. So how we bring people together to structure out ways of solving these problems is something that is very critical. Because as long as we cannot come together to work together, then all these things we're speaking about will always be mysteries. Okay. Because for even to companies, these think tanks to come and start solving these problems, they had to come together. Okay. So we need to push our people to learn the beauties of teamwork. Teamwork is very powerful. Yeah. And secondly, leadership is also important, right? For anything to grow, it has to have a leader. Again, everything rises and falls on leadership. Again, that is why some countries are thriving, because their leadership understands what to do.
So our entrepreneurs should actually be leaders.
They should have a leadership mindset. Again, they should have a leadership mindset. And this leadership mindset, you cannot develop this when you don't want to work with people. You have to work with people. Yeah.
All right. So it is clear that it is not actually the young people who are lazy, who cannot work hard, because out of this conversation, you can see that there are so many challenges that actually need to be addressed. Now, you as a young person who is there, this is a question for you. Why do you think it is so hard for you to make money? And do you believe our panel has actually addressed that question? So please answer that question in the comment section and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this episode to other people, because the best person is going to win a pack from us, exclusive and access to exclusive content. Now, as we wind up, Imran, according to what we have actually witnessed here, what can be your final thoughts that you can tell the young people out there about this challenge of finding it hard to make money, and what could be the solutions, the final thoughts that you are giving the young people?
Thank you so much. I will substantiate it like this. I will recall the role of an individual, in the economy. One, please dream and start. Dream and start. Because if you see an economy like Uganda where there are many problems, as an entrepreneur, there is an opportunity there. And start. Because if you start and you are passionate about what you're doing, 1 year in there, 2 years in there, 5 years in there, 10 years in there, I am assuring you, you would have added a brick to the economic development of Uganda. If you start, you are able to employ your friends. If you start, you are able to create employment. That is the spirit of entrepreneurship that we would like you as a youth outside there. You cannot tell me that if you see the job market, it's not ready to receive all of us. But if 50% of the youth today start something and then sharpen their skills so that they are able to run whatever, any idea, however crazy it is, even if it's in water, even if it's packing, even if it's delivery, even if it's clothes, even if it's, and with the help of the ICTs, you be there long enough, you will master that craft, you will employ others, and the problem of unemployment shall be at least drastically solved. And then on the national level, the players will come to sharpen, to streamline on the policy level. That is what I can submit for now.
Okay, moving on to Oscar, your parting shots.
Yes.
And I want you to address also a question that how best can we actually create a system where the libertarian principles can actually succeed to help the young people in Uganda to address the big giant in the room? Why are they finding it hard to make money? As you wrap up.
Thank you. Thank you again, George. So, number one, we need to empower ourselves. Yeah, we need to learn. Right? You need to learn. You need to learn. Get somewhere to learn from. YouTube, short course, anywhere. Get a friend, talk to someone, because we need to be informed. That is the very first thing. Then secondly, we need to pick out what works for us and what doesn't work for us. I've noticed a lot of us young people are involved in a lot of things. Again, are involved in a lot of things, and for a moment we might fail to even realize our strength. Because number one, we have 5, 6, 7 things we are doing at the same time. Again, and it would be hard for us to identify our strength. Again, I would encourage we understand what we love doing or what excites us, and then capitalize on that, right? Capitalize on that, be better at that, and then things will start flowing. Experience will find you working. You get experience can't find you doing a lot of other things. The libertarian principles, it's the same as it's the same thing I just said. Pick out what works for you. All these principles, right? Pick out what works for you and then apply that as an individual. Is it individual liberty? Understand what individual liberty is. Understand the benefits of individual liberty. Understand free markets. Get. Understand why we need to voluntarily cooperate. Understand why you need to offer someone value so that they can give you money. Get. Understand why we need an economy that is limited in government intervention. Understand these things, and then we slowly, every time we practice something, we get better. Every time we speak about something, we understand it much more. Okay. So basically, those are my parting shots.
All right, thank you. So as we end this conversation, is there any one point that you believe we cannot leave here without mentioning to both of you? Because we are closing and the time is really against us.
Yeah, so it's called participate in uprooting corruption in the country. Because we can see Uganda, we are losing much in corruption as far as the monies, the trillions of shillings that we are losing in corruption. It's really, really so sad. So if we can train our young people to at least be of integrity and then be able to uproot, play a part in uprooting corruption in the country, at least we can save the trajectory of this country. Thank you so much.
The most important point for him, Denis Oscar.
Mine is about personal development. Everyone sets goals. So this is what goals are. Goals are good for giving a direction, whereas systems are best for helping you make progress. Right? So as you set your goals, make sure you develop systems. Systems, whether in your job, family, or in your employment, or organization, set those systems to help you make the progress. Because the goal is just something up there that you need to reach, but how you shall reach there is this system that you create. A system is something repetitive. It's a routine, right? It's a routine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Counsel Imran, for joining us for the discussion, and of course, CEO Mtindo Network for also joining us. It's really been nice to hear that insightful discussion on this YouTube channel, African Justice Media, and I hope young people who are following us can find something useful out of it and of course implement it. So it is clear to you, our viewers, that there are so many things that we need to do. However, the principles of liberty in Uganda need to be worked on. For example, the rule of law, individual liberty, the limited government that they have been mentioning about, property rights, and others. And so I want to leave you with a question. What do you think among the principles that are mentioned should be the one that we start with? And which principle do you think Uganda is currently strongly upholding? Let's meet in the next episode of Afro Liberty Talks. I remain your host, George Justice Kanyihamba. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share this episode if it pressed you. Thank you.